all the way from Hawaii to Egypt, all over the world. We are going to speak about how to build a character, how to self-improve with Violet Shimoko, all the way from Honolulu. Violet, could you please introduce yourself and what do you do for business?
Sure. I'm Violet Shimoko, and I created a character education program by accident. Basically, what happened was I was with my husband for 33 years, and my life just blew up. And my son was off to college. And I thought, to get out of this pity mode, what could I do? And so when I put a lot of thought in it, I thought that parenting was probably the best time of my life. I think I became a better person. And so I thought if I could do anything for the rest of my life, what would it be? And so it was to spend time with kids, because I thought I could, be of use. I could be an auntie, and I could relive my parenting days again. And so, in essence, what manifested was an after-school program. And initially, well, I wanted to affect all children, but boys and girls learn differently. And so what I thought was, I have a son, but if I have to choose, I'll choose girls, because in the long run, I'll affect both, because girls will eventually become moms and they'll parent, their sons. And so from my selfish perspective, I thought I'll cover both genders, right? So anyway, it manifested itself into a cute little after school program. And what I did was I provided a lot of activities that girls would like art, cooking, cleaning. And oh, by the way, we'd have these little chats on the foundations of what creates a good person. And so anyway, long story short, my educational model was very successful because I resonated with the girls and the interns that I hired to help me. And so I was capturing, say, the 5 to 25-year-olds. But the educational model worked, it resonated, but my financial model didn't work, because I started at a time when it was in 2009, right after 2008, when everything crashed. And so shortly after running my operations for 3 years, I had to deal with cancer. And so I had to close my program. And while I was on my own, doing the therapy, the chemo, a friend of mine suggested that I turn my character education program into a book. And so, because it was a girls program, it was called Club Charm, I needed to resonate with boys as well. And so one really good friend of mine, who's a marketing genius, he says, "Hey, Vi, girls will do what boys do, but boys won't do what girls do. Younger people will do what older people do, but older people won't do what younger people do." So then I was, I had that in my mind. And so I went with the treasure theme, the pirate theme. And so I converted my Club Charm theme to life treasures, like a treasure chest, good habits to grow good people. So I kind of shifted it so that it would appeal, to both genders. And so basically, because social media is so foreign to me, I never delved into it. I thought it was just another thing. I just thought, okay, I'll just write my book, I'll put it on Amazon and hope for the best. But as luck would have it, I met a consultant on LinkedIn, and where I met you, and I had met her several years ago, and she recalls my program. And so she said, "Hey, I want to help you." And she started talking about putting my program online and this and that. And I thought, boy, this is so foreign. But anyway, that was my first exposure to actually committing to being on social media. And so it's just a few months now. I started in April. And what I'm trying to do with my program is to reach parents and influence of children. And basically, I'm not a parenting expert. I'm not teaching potty training or, those how to do your how to clean your room, or those things that parents typically worry about. Because I guess in a nutshell, if I can, because I'm a collector of quotes, but if I can really express in a nutshell what my parenting philosophy is, or what I hope, my message to be, is that parenting is not about raising good kids, it's about raising good adults. And so a lot of the things that I think parents do, um, I say this very humbly and respectfully, but it's kind of to make them look good, to for them to have like the best academics, or behave perfectly at the dinner table. And that's great. I think it's important to have that awareness. But often, teaching those strictures doesn't really compute or translate to raising a good adult. And in my gift, and they're born with this innate genius. And I think it behooves us as parents and mentors to help children find it. And so I'm trying to find my voice in this arena and to share this with parents. And I think it'll kind of relax them, into enjoying the parenting process and the experience, because it was like the most wonderful time in my life. And so I think we as parents and mentors, if we can give our children the awareness and skills of the foundations of good character, that stays with them, and um, they can use that as, assets, as a resource to become very successful and thriving adults, to essentially live happy. So that's kind of in a nutshell, my mission, my vision for myself right now.
Yeah, perfect. So could you explain what are the main principles or the main messages you are sending through your program and the book?
Yes, it's called Life Treasures: Good Habits to Grow Good People. And as I mentioned, I just came back from Spain, and I have everything in storage. So everything that I have is boxed up. But basically, what it was a tenants. It was I started off with it being called the Charm Tenants. Now it's habits, and so it's all the genesis of it is the golden rule. And of course, the golden rule, I say it in a different way. It's just simply being responsible for my actions, kind and considerate of others. And it's a series of aphorisms, or like sayings. And it just happens that it's super easy to remember. And so I will be responsible for my actions, kind and considerate of others. Our thoughts become our actions. Our actions become our habits. Our habits become our character, and our character becomes our future, and we get what we create. I will not do drugs or smoke cigarettes, and that's the healthy habits workshop that I did. So each one of these aphorisms, sayings, I attached a workshop to. And so some of it is presenting you head over heart over hiney, private parts, private modesty, food to mouth, not mouth to food, etiquette, smell nice, of course, personal hygiene, be classy, not trashy. And this, yes, so ultimately, all these little phrases are designed to really help people to live happy, not blaming others, not. And so my book, what it does, it just breaks down, all these little habits that once in your awareness, like I used to tell my son, you're not watching this PG-13 or rated R movie because it's there for a reason, because you cannot unsee what you've seen. You can't unhear what you've heard. And that's why we as parents, we protect you for as long as we can until you can absorb this information. And so when parents will say, oh, my kid is so smart, and, and they expose them to too much, and so I think there's a lot of gurus out there who will For example, like if setting goals is like the word of it and it's super popular, and that's something that traditionally we need to do. You might have a new guru that comes in and says, goals don't matter, or motivation doesn't matter, inspiration does, or so people get really confused. So basically, what I do is I drill it down to super common sense practices that so you don't get confused, and basically we help our children to identify their North Star. And I think when we do that, we really equip them, we fortify them. And ultimately, I have, when I speak to parents, I say there's just one task that you need to do to deem yourself a successful parent. And if I could tell you that, would you be interested in knowing what that is? And I would guess, more than 9 times out of 10, parents will say, yeah, sure. I want to know that. And would you like to know? It's part of my program, but it's super simple. And it's basically what my message on that point, on the one task that you need to do for your kids that will guarantee that you did a successful job as a parent, is imparting to them, making them believe that you believe in them implicitly. And the reason that's so important is that as you believe in them, they begin to believe in themselves. And so there's a really famous quote out there, for every child that believes in himself is a parent who believed first. And so, a lot of it, I love working with kids. I absolutely love working with kids. But I realized that I need to work with the parents, and kind of get them to lighten up, And so your question about my program and what it is, it starts with, actually, I'll be right back. Sorry about that.
Okay.
It's this book right here.
Perfect. Perfect.
And it's my working copy because I scratch it up and everything. But so basically what I was talking about was these, see how short it is? So if you get this, each one of these were a workshop that I had with the kids in my after school program. And having this away, and it was amazing for me because I actually hired someone to create this program for me because I just wanted to operate. I just wanted to operate the program and spend time with the kids. But the person that became my partner who actually created the program, she was super high level. And it's not to dumb it down, but I just needed it to be understandable, to kids. And so, the language was too complicated, I think, too complicated for the kids. And so, for example, like in, networking, you network, that's so important. You should know that, right? Kids should know that. They should learn that from a very young age. And so my workshop and my little aphorism for that is everything begins with a conversation. Smile, the greatest social tool. And what happens is these children who are so insecure, when all is said and done, maybe about 500 kids went through my program, either through parties or just visiting or actually, being a part of my program. And I can honestly say that they're all leaders in their own right, because they all have talents. They all have one is the cheerleading captain, one became, the student body president of her school. And I didn't realize this was going to happen, but 10 years later, they all have confidence that emerges from not something foreign to them. It's something that is innately them that they just built upon. And so I think that's critically important because, when I was growing up, it was you do this because it has to be done. Not you do this because, oh my gosh, you're so good with people, or you're so good, you're creative in art or whatever it is. It was, but fortunately, that's what society says, to me, my teachers, but my mother accepted me for who I was. And I had many mentors that saw my gifts. So I'd like to gift, I use that very respectfully, to people that I basically meet with them. And as I have conversation and I talk to them, I can somehow decode them or download what their gifts are. And so people are unhappy for reasons because they're not really identifying their innate genius. And gosh, we work so much and we spend so much money as adults on trying to fix ourselves. What if we could do this for our kids? And they have that awareness. Then you really get rid of all the angst and, turmoil and suffering. And so if I can make a difference, it's imparting this awareness. And the benefit is going to be that you minimize a child's likelihood of being bullied because they have a sense of themselves. And I think the more important thing is you mitigate suicide, because in finding their innate genius, they're going to realize that they came to this earth, they came to this universe or this physical life, for a reason. And so that, I think, my gosh, is priceless. And why don't we start with kids? Why do we have to, become adults and figure out that, oh my God, we got really screwed. We're messed up, So it's all simple. It starts with this. And I thought, this is all it is. But a friend of mine said, no, you have to expand it and, explain it to parents. And so then that's why I did this, which is a real simple workbook style creation. I'm really proud of it. It's I published it a while ago, but so now my journey is to share it with 1 million people, and out of a world of 7 billion people, I thought, it shouldn't be so hard. And you speak English, and you're from Cairo,
Yeah.
and so I thought I might have a chance.
Yeah, you have all the chance. Okay, now my question is, what recommendations would you like to give parents?
What recommendation that I would like to give parents is be responsible for your child. Don't farm them out. I think we expect that if we have the best private schools, which I did send my son to, one of the best private schools here, and he went on to a wonderful college and everything. But when I'll say this because when I get interviewed as a, I think it would be very disingenuous and how do you say, not hypocritical, but if sometimes people spew good messaging, but they don't really live it. And so before I'm interviewed, especially in the context of parenting, I like talking to my son. And so this many years ago, but I happened to text him. I said, hey, what, I'm going to go into this interview. What made me a good mom to you? What made me a good mother to you? Because I have all this stuff, but bottom line is, what was I to you? And he's amazing, rapid fire. He comes back and he said, you were visible and you were accessible. It wasn't, oh, you were so loving and warm and you cooked. And it wasn't that. Because if he said, I was visible and I was accessible, it's implicit. It's just a no-brainer that the love and the kindness and all that is attached to that. And so it was so helpful. And so I actually put that in my book. I said, be visible and accessible, because, oh my gosh, who better than a parent to be their child's number one fan, right? And when your child feels that you are their number one fan and you believe in them, crooked teeth, blemishes, freckles, whatever, and all, because I'm super tiny. I mean, like, I'm very, very, very petite. And so, for example, when I graduated, I was 84 pounds, but when I was in the 6th grade, I was 65 pounds or something like that. All right. And do you know, I never got bullied, but I could have, because one day I came home crying and because I got teased. And what my mother said when I came home crying was amazing. She says, Violet, and she spoke in, we spoke in Japanese, so I'm just interpreting, translating. She says, why are you crying? And I think I was in the third or the fourth grade, and my father had a very prominent business in Hawaii, and it was called SNS Saimin. My last name is Shimoko, so it was Shimoko and Sons. So SNS Saimin, which is a very popular noodle product. So I got called. I said, I got teased. I came home crying. I got teased. Shimoko shrimp. And it just devastated me. I was just so sad and humiliated. And I come home and my mother asked me, what happened? And she looked so concerned. And I said, and I told her what happened. And she says, oh, Violet. And she just looks at me. She said, don't you know that little girls are so much better when they're little and cute than big and ugly, And, it's not to down big people that they're ugly, but, she just knew exactly what I needed to hear. And then when I heard that, I thought, oh, wait a second. And all of a sudden my shoulders got a little, squarer and broader. And I thought, wow, really? She goes, you go to school tomorrow. Don't worry about things like that. You're perfect. You're so cute. Blah, blah. And, I thought, oh, and it was just amazing. It was like, and so I feel like what I'm doing is what she did for me to kids. I'm the Wizardress of Oz. Basically, the Tin Man, didn't have a heart. I'm giving him a clock. The little straw, the scarecrow, little girl, whatever, scarecrow doesn't have a brain. I'll give you a certification that you're smart. And then the lion, he didn't have courage. I'll give you a medal. So basically it's all what's in your mind that creates your reality. And so she fortified me, and because the most important person in my whole world, and she just passed away. This is my mother. I have to show you my mother.
Oh yeah, she's lovely.
Okay. She just me, and she knew what every one of us needed. And for me it was that confidence, because I'm super a social creature and I needed to blend in, fit in, and she did that for me. For my brothers it was education. They're brilliant. They're educated and they're financially successful. They're investment bankers and they're blah 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 blah. My sister, brilliant, but she's a different kind of brilliant. She's more of a lawyer type. I'm the artist and I'm, the creator. And she was able to identify that for all of us. And isn't that what we parents should be doing? So my message clearly to parents is be there for your kids. It seems so simple, but that is so darn important. The $1 million mansion, multi-million-dollar here, or whatever, even the education, great, that's wonderful, because I think being Oriental, Asian, education, so, it's like gold, right? But the bottom line is a child needs that love and affection and that acceptance from their parents. So, if there are any parents out there listening, be accessible, visible, be there for your kids, be their number one fan, and make all the difference in the world for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's give some of the message to the children. What would be your best pieces of advice for young people?
For young people,
Yeah.
again, simple, because it's all connected, that you were born with an innate gift, an innate genius that will make the world a better place. Even if it's a little better, it's going to make the world a better place if you find that. And then, you know what? It's going to be so easy. If you're not inclined to be, a neuroscientist, and because your parents or society says, wow, that's success, you know, an astrophysicist or a rocket scientist or a doctor or a lawyer. And here you are, like me, more of an artist, creator. I'm thinking, shoot, I'm sunk from the get-go. But what if somebody just tells you, you know what, there's something inside of you that is bursting to come. That's why you were born. You know, let's find that. And you know what? You're gonna know it. And I can tell you, I can give you an awareness on when you know that you found it. And that you want to wake up every morning. You know, you wanna be better at it. You know, and some people, you know, they weren't born to be athletes or what, but they become that because maybe there was something in them that, you know, there was a hankering that I want to. And so it was difficult, but they had that energy, the motivation, the inspiration to do it. And so I think we as parents, hey, things are going to get hard, even if it's an innate gift, right? But just keep trying because you know what? If you keep trying and you don't make it and you die, that's a hell of a lot better place to be at than sitting on a damn sofa and just saying, oh gosh, you know, twiddling my thumbs and looking at TV and social media and Facebook and all these lives that, wow, what a wonderful life. Sure sucks to be me, you know. And so why don't we create? And that's what, you know, that we get what we create is that when you can impart that awareness to your child, it's not defeatist. They like, they are in control of their life. It's not, oh, you know, my teacher did this to me, my friend did that to me, my boss is this. It's like, okay, how can I make a difference? How can I change this? How can I rephrase my style of speaking to be a little bit more attractive to others so they want to be my friend? You know, how can I talk to myself so that I inspire myself, you know, instead of talking down to myself? And so I understand because people like me who grew up with social idealisms and cultural idealisms of how you're supposed to behave. So being Japanese, we have to be really humble and we can't be arrogant or. But you know what? It's like it's already wired into me, and so I understand that. And so when I say things like, "Oh, you know, I'm so sorry," but blah blah blah, it's not that I'm doing it. It's just that when I speak to a person in my culture, if I don't adjust and if I don't speak in the way that, you know, they understand, I basically shot myself in the foot. Did I undermine myself and demean myself? No, because I'll say, "Oh, I'm sorry," blah, 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 but I'm not sorry. I'm just saying that, wow, to relate to this person, I better start with, sumimasen ga, blah, 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 you know? And some people will say, you know what, you're demeaning yourself. You know, and I say, oh, okay. But that's not what I'm doing. I'm just trying to relate to the person that I'm speaking to. And of course, you know, I have that social idealism myself, right? I have to be humble. I have to, you know, be a little bit, you know, not as, you know, like American women or Western, you know, I can't be like that. I feel like I can be powerful in a very understated way, you know, very feminine way. And I like that. So women, I'm sorry if you want to be, you know, liberated and feminist like a man, that's your prerogative, but please don't impose your social idealisms on me who wants to be a little bit more feminine and, you know, and so that there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with being a powerful, strong man like woman. There's nothing wrong. But when other people try to impose their values to change me, it's like, no, you know, I humbly and respectfully just say, you know, I really appreciate your feedback. Thank you. Does that mean I agreed? No. I just said thank you and I respected them. And so why can't we teach that to our kids? Why do we have to argue? Oh no, and go on and start arguing. I mean, when it really matters and it's for your kids or someone who comes to you for advice and asks you, hey, I want to be liked, or why am I bullied? Or then, you know, they've given you permission to be a little bit more forthright and honest. But you can still say honest things in a nice way, you know, and You can come from a humble perspective, meaning that I have these opinions and ideas, but I don't feel like I'm not right. This is my opinion. If you don't agree, please let's have a discussion. Like the politics of today, right? And so that's what I say. Hey, you know what? So many people hate Trump or but you know what? Whatever your position is, great. But you know what? Use some critical thinking before you make your judgments. You need to hear both sides. But that's not what happens today. It's like, oh, cancel culture. And I don't want kids to cancel other people out. And so I can't do it with the adults anymore, because they're just so, um, they just have their ideals, right? But I think for kids, it's not telling them believe in this or that. It's just teaching them critical thinking. And that's what this does. It teaches them common sense that doesn't seem so common anymore.
Yeah, that's an amazing word. So, Violet, what is your message to the world?
My message to the world is that you were born for a reason and you need to find out what that is. And I'm just saying from a parent's perspective, gosh, wouldn't it be a priceless gift to help our children find that, as opposed to having them do it on their own? It's not imposing our values on them. It's really observing them. And by observing them, gosh, all this data, all this information surfaces. So basically, you were born for a reason, and you're going to make a difference in the world if you find that reason.
Yeah, it has been more than priceless, more than great talking to you, Violet, today. I really appreciate these wonderful ideas for parents, especially that I am one of them, and for the young generations that are to come. Thank you so much, Violet.
Likewise, thank you so much, Nour.